The Great Depression and the New Deal policies. World War II, 1941 to 1945. The United States in the post-World War II era. The Great Depression occurred in 1929 due to the stock market crash, resulting in bankruptcies of businesses and banks worldwide, a decrease in farmers' incomes, and many unemployed people. Although U.S. production capacity increased, there were problems caused by overproduction. In the 1932 presidential election, there was a debate over the causes and solutions of the Great Depression, and Roosevelt, who advocated for aggressive measures and federal government intervention, was elected as president. The New Deal policies announced by President Roosevelt introduced some European economic reform methods and achieved results that would have taken generations to accomplish in a short period of time. The policies included building roads, bridges, airports, public parks, and facilities to create jobs, and the Agricultural Adjustment Act to increase farm incomes. However, in the early 1930s, the Dust Bowl occurred in the Great Plains due to droughts and winds, causing serious devastation. While the New Deal policies created jobs and increased industrial production through various bills, they could not completely stop the Great Depression. Therefore, President Roosevelt supported new economic and social measures known as the Second New Deal. This included policies that provided jobs and social safety nets, using agencies such as the Works Progress Administration, WPA, to implement building projects, roads, airports, and arts projects. One of the most important policies of the New Deal was the Social Security Act, which established a social insurance system that was used to support the elderly, unemployed, and disabled. These policies helped Roosevelt gain overwhelming support in the presidential election. When President Roosevelt's second administration took office, the United States was facing the danger of war. Totalitarian countries such as Germany, Italy, and Japan were pursuing world domination and engaging in aggression. In response, the United States declared neutrality and passed a neutrality law that prohibited trade or loans to any country. When war broke out in Europe in 1939, American citizens also showed a reaction that neutrality should be maintained. In 1940, France was occupied by Germany and England continued to be attacked. Within the United States, there was a debate between supporters of intervention and isolationism, but eventually the interventionists won, and defense plans and significant military spending were put in place for the Western Hemisphere countries. In 1941, the Lend-Lease policy was approved, allowing the United States to provide weapons and equipment to countries such as Britain, the Soviet Union, and China. President Roosevelt was re-elected and became the first president in U.S. history to serve 3 terms. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, where the U.S. Pacific Fleet was located. On December 8, the U.S. Congress declared war on Japan, and 3 days later, Germany and Italy, who were allies with Japan, also declared war on the United States. As a result, the United States switched to a wartime system, where all industrial production and civilian activity were controlled by the government. Approximately 65 million civilians served as soldiers or worked in defense industries. The Western Allies decided to focus their military power on Europe, and successfully carried out the Normandy landing starting with D-Day in 1944. Afterwards, the liberation of Paris and the German offensive in February and March 1945 led to the end of the war. In the Pacific theater, the war with Japan continued even after Germany surrendered, and atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9, respectively. Finally, on September 2, 1945, Japan declared surrender. On April 25, 1945, representatives from 50 countries gathered to discuss the founding principles of the United Nations, UN, and the U.S. Senate overwhelmingly ratified the UN Charter with a vote of 89-2. This demonstrated America's willingness to abandon isolationism and play an important role in the early post-war world order. However, the Cold War tensions between the Soviet Union and the U.S. also surfaced. Post-war Germany was divided among the U.S., UK, France, and the Soviet Union, and in the spring of 1948, the Soviet Union blockaded West Berlin, forcing Western countries to airlift large amounts of food and fuel. The Cold War played an important role in U.S. foreign policy. President Truman's containment policy required broad support, including the Marshall Plan for European Economic Recovery and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, to check Soviet expansion. The US also dealt with security threats in Asia through the Korean War. The Cold War also had a significant impact within the US, strengthening anti-communist sentiment and producing hardliners such as Senator Joseph McCarthy, though popular support for McCarthy's actions quickly waned. After World War II, the US experienced an unprecedented 15-year economic growth, becoming the wealthiest country in the world. However, this economic success was accompanied by growing discontent among Black Americans, leading to the Civil Rights Movement. In the late 1950s, the Supreme Court declared segregation policies unconstitutional, and the Civil Rights Act of 1957 allowed federal intervention to protect Black voting rights. Socially, a homogeneous culture was predominant, with conformity being more common than individual expression. Thanks for watching.